Welcome to Sovereign Mamas, the podcast sanctuary for visionary women who are building lives, businesses, and legacies in alignment with their feminine power. I'm your host, Julia Erin, intuitive business coach, mama of two, and systems strategist for solo-led entrepreneurs. Here, we honor both your sacred role as a mama and your wild vision as a changemaker. Expect soul-aligned strategy, raw storytelling, behind the scenes, and powerful conversations that support you in scaling your business without sacrifice. If you're done choosing between success and sovereignty, you're home. Let's begin. Welcome to the Sovereign Mamas podcast. This is yet another episode that I'm really excited about. Before I introduce my guest, I just want to say something to you, dear mama, listening tonight, today, this morning, wherever you're tuning in from, and whatever time it is that you're carving out for your special moment to pause, to breathe, to really tune in and sink in what also matters aside from the busyness of your life, aside from that to-do list that you surely have next to you or in your head. So well done for being here, and just sit back, relax, and enjoy, because this is a conversation. This is another fellow mama, a mompreneur who's just showing you that you can do too. Like, this is the whole purpose of the Sovereign Mamas. Welcome, Erin. I'm very happy to have you here. It feels like we're good old friends, even though we have only just connected online. So I'm very excited to share this all with the listeners. But first of all, how are you?
Julia, thank you for having me on your podcast, on your show, and allowing me just to breathe life into your listeners and exchange just this beautiful conversation. We've already had a few, and I feel like we've been lifelong friends. Like, and how did we just meet? I feel like where have you been all my life? It's kind of like the feeling, right? I'm really feeling great. I'm feeling all the things. I'm feeling super emotional for so many reasons, which I can share and dive into, and also, exhausted. But it's interesting because my exhaustion feels different. It's not from a place of burnout. It's more from a place of sort of this peace in knowing that there's something really big coming on the other side of this exhaustion. It's being a mom and being an entrepreneur and being fill in the blank of all the other titles we are, right? That's where that exhaustion is, but there's a piece about it now that I'm choosing that and not that it's consuming me. So, yeah.
Yeah, someone said the other day that there's a term when you're in this expansional growth. It's just like, how did she put it? It was a good, I should have written it down as something like an expansion, like a growth
Yeah.
exhaustion that's part of, your becoming, and then your body just like, because she had a flu, and she's like, oh, but I know this is because I'm about to move on to my next level. And it's like, oh yeah, it does make so much sense when you're in it. And
You're
then,
shedding,
yeah,
right? You're shedding that old energy, which is like
yeah.
wild. Yeah.
So tell me, so you're exhausted because you just had a big event. What was this
Oh,
about?
yeah. So, it all happened in the same 24 hours. So this past weekend, my oldest son turned 13, which
It's
most
big.
of you will know is a big, big milestone, right? He
Mhm.
felt it really big. We felt it really big. My husband and I are like, we have a freaking teenager. Like, how is that possible? Because A, I'm only 20, right? And
Of
how is that
course.
possible? But like just having this new feeling as a mom of handing off more responsibility to your kid, knowing that he's ready, but not knowing how that's going to look. We're just fly by the seat of our pants, right? There's no manual. for the growth of your child, and they're all so different. So that happened on the same day that I was presenting at a women's conference. So let me give just a tidbit of background. So I live in Rochester, New York, which is upstate New York. If people hear New York and you think the big city, I'm about 5, 6 hours from New York City. So I'm more closer to like Finger Lakes, mountains, things of that nature. So there's an area here locally in New York called Canandaigua Lake, which is one of the Finger Lakes. It's beautiful. It's a slice of heaven. People come here, they don't even know it exists, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is just, it's slow, it's methodical, it's beautiful." And people don't know this, but Canandaigua is um right in the area of where the women's movement happened, where women's rights movement happened in the United States.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I spoke on a stage across the street from the courthouse where Susan B. Anthony was trialed for voting for the first time.
Oh, I had no idea it was that
Mhm.
historically connected.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So what a moment, right? What a beautiful tribute to the 60 women that were in this room with me, the a dozen women that I got to share the stage with, to really share in this moment of, there hasn't been a women's conference in that area since then, since that movement began. So what an honor, what a tribute, what a legacy, right? And so I did, that was not lost on me. And it was so beautiful to share that stage with women that I've been working with for the past year. You can see behind me right here, is Warrior Women Anthology, which is a book that I got the pleasure of being a part of. I wrote a chapter in with some of the women that I spoke with on stage, which is
Ah,
our,
amazing.
yes, our life lessons that we turned into legacy, right? And so I got to share a stage and speak on some of these life lessons. And
Mm.
so it was a powerful movement. I talked about, the roles and rules that as women we feel we have to fill that are just BS, just not true. And we get to make our own rules, and we get to step out of the box, that metaphorical box that we put ourselves in. We get to unbox ourselves and decide who we want to be. And, years ago, women decided to be bold and do that themselves and pave the way. And here we were speaking on those very same things this weekend.
Wow.
A lot of energy, right? A lot of
That is
reinvention.
huge.
Yes, such a huge weekend. A lot of reinvention of, wow, I'm a mom of a teenager now. Wow, I'm a woman breathing life into other women to ignite them to see their soul and step into their purpose and calling. And so just a lot.
Oh, congratulations. This is really big. This is really, yeah, a moment you will remember
Yeah.
forever. Wow. Take us back to that moment, you know, in the past where you knew something has to change so that listeners can understand how did you transform into the woman you are today?
Yeah, I speak to this in my chapter in our anthology, Warrior Women. But the universe was trying to give me nudges along the way. So I would say there were multiple moments that God, universe, angels was like, "Come on, Erin! Like this is you're steering off the path here, girl." But some of us are a little bit stubborn and don't want to listen the first 15 times. So the biggest catalyst for me was, I was just in the eye of a storm a handful of years ago. And well, a few years ago. And my marriage was really rocky. I just wasn't showing up. I was working like 70 hours a week. Like it was just insane, right? And I'm a social worker by trade, so I was managing a whole team of social workers and starting to build my private practice as a private mental health clinician, and working overnights in a psychiatric emergency, doing all these things trying to raise a family. And then COVID hit, the world
Mhm.
shut down, right?
Mhm.
We had to sort of recalibrate. My husband's a firefighter, so he's a first responder, and I worked in a clinic. So, we were both
Wow.
very essential humans. It was crazy. And then the biggest catalyst, which I shared in my speech and I share in the book, is that my coworker that I shared an office with for 2 years, she was also a manager of another team. We worked side by side. She had a heart attack at work,
Mm.
and she was rushed to the hospital and she passed away.
Oh.
And, you know, um, within a week, we were boxing up her office and posting for her position. And it just was, right? So we were both the same age. We both had two children. We were both married. We were both social workers. The parallel lives that we had were just, right? And went to her funeral, hundreds of people. I mean, I did not know how connected this woman was. And here I was sharing an office with her. And I didn't know what a beautiful life she had outside of that. It was just, right? The connection bigger than that, bigger than all of that, was that we were both just really badass women, right? Just trying to really impact the world and
Mhm.
wanted more for ourselves, for our kids, for our family, for the women in our world. And that was when I was like, this is not the legacy. This isn't it. So very
Yeah.
shortly after that, I left that role, and went full throttle in my private practice, which skyrocketed. And as that happened, I had colleagues saying, Erin, what are you doing? I want to do this. And so I organically started coaching, didn't even know I was doing it. And then people were like, you need to start charging for this. And I was like, oh, this is a thing. So that is how, I reinvented myself. And I'm still doing that. I'm in the midst of doing that again. And I am really stepping into a whole new calling as a transformational coach and unboxing myself and reinventing who I am in all ways. So
Isn't it like some these events, as tragic and you know, deep and painful they are in the moment, aren't they a gift? Because I mean, without that, you probably this experience was shaking you awake. It was like literally in your face. You cannot
yeah,
continue. You cannot. How
yeah.
did this now, everything that then followed, how do you feel like it affected your like your motherhood when, you know, changed?
Yeah. Yeah. So as a mom of two boys, so I have two boys.
Mhm.
And so, I don't have girls, but I have so many friends who do. And it's an interesting parallel because I want to show young women,
Mhm.
young girls, that you get to choose and you get to reinvent yourself over and over again. And you don't have to abide by anybody's rules but your own. Um and yet here I am having two boys and showing them how to support that movement. Um Stepping into their power, their purpose, their masculinity, but also the softness of supporting women that are strong. Um,
Mhm.
and so it has changed me as a mom because, as you know, being an entrepreneur it is absolutely beautiful, and it is one of the coolest things that I will, upon my death, look back and say, thank God I did that. Um, but it is challenging because I want to do this work all day, right? All I want to do is sit on these conversations. All I want to do is breathe life into women and men across the world to show up in their power. And yet I want to do that with my family and my kids too. So what that has allowed me is the flexibility to do both, to my one son is home right now, just hanging out because he didn't want to go to camp. And I'm like, well, mom's got some calls, but like, that's cool. So I get to show up here and breathe life into your guests, into your, peeps that listen, your listeners here. And my son's just a room away being him. And if he needs me, I can step away if I need to. So it's allowed that ability in me to, I think balance is an illusion. I don't really like to use that term, but it's allowed me to hold space for both. It's allowed me to hold space for me and show up fully as this entrepreneur, badass woman, but also be a mama
Mhm.
and show them that I can be both and teach them that they can be both and they can support women to be both. So, yeah, it's changed me, you know?
You're beautiful, yes. And it's so, I feel so necessary, needed that especially like I when I think about it, and I'm a boy mom too, for those who don't know that. I know you do. We talked about it last week. And
Yeah.
it's yeah, I truly do believe that because we are doing this work, it was also kind of necessary to have boys because what if, we are such strong women and we go for our dream and dreams and vision and so the boys now, this generation that comes and grows into men, they need to see that,
Yeah.
witness that. So I truly believe that we're raising, like we're not only doing something for the women, but actually we're raising strong but empathetic men who these strong women then again like can dance together and they can like the world will become a better place. I truly believe that.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And it took a long time, for my husband and I to kind of find that and you know, I would love to speak to this for a moment for your listeners that and this might feel foreign to some that haven't talked this way or heard this sort of language, but energetically at one point what was happening in our marriage and our relationship is that I am such a strong woman that my personality is very big. And even though I hold my own insecurities, my personality is very big. And so I operate in such a masculine, energetic way. And what I mean by that, when I speak masculine, I mean just doing.
Hmm.
Right. So as a masculine default of energy, I go, 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 do, do, do. I take action, right? It's messy a lot, but I take action. And what I discovered, a few years ago when I really started diving into myself energetically is that I needed to pull myself out of that masculinity and find that feminine energy inside myself, which means just being. And the feminine energy, it's just being. And what I found was happening in my relationship is I was taking his masculinity from him and I was giving him my feminine energy. And so I was holding so much masculine, doing, doing, doing. And, this has happened the last couple days too. I'm aware of it now. So I know how to sort of course correct. But years ago, I wasn't aware of this. And so this is a teachable moment and sharing with your listeners that, if you find yourself in this strong mom woman energy, embrace it. You don't need to, you're not wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not doing anything that you need to fix. Just understand that you can be feminine too. You can be vulnerable. You can ask for help. You can give that masculine energy back to your partner and step into your feminine and say, I can't do all of this. I need to just be, and I need you to do this for me. And when I've learned how to do that, when I started talking different to my husband, starting to say, I need you to step in. I need you to do this. Can you do this? It was a challenge because we were changing as our system, right? And so it was hard to readjust how we did that, but through a lot of talk and a lot of discussion and a lot of openness to change, um, we found that vibe and that new energetic frequency. And it's really been a beautiful journey. And so
Mhm.
just know that if you are like us, which you probably are if you're listening to this show, um, that it's okay to stand in that doing, going energy, but it's also really okay to step back and just be.
Hmm. No, I can so relate to this, and in my case, the relationship didn't make it. I do take credit for that part. Like, definitely, I had taken on the masculine
Yeah.
energy a lot, but yeah, it's also like there I feel is more conversations and education needed, because when children come into place, right? It's so easy to have a like easier to have a relationship pre-children.
Yes.
It's just like, okay, you and me, and then and then you just brush over things, go through situations, you come out stronger or not, and it doesn't matter. Children are just an amplifier of the things that you're not openly
Mhm.
communicate, and then it gets worse and worse and worse, and then we women, we take on those roles because we
Yeah.
see things and it has to happen, and the kids need us, and bless those men who had no idea how to react, and then they get pushed into that. Oh my gosh, she knows what
Yep.
to do, right? So
Yep.
I'll let her take over, and then that's
Yes.
easier, of course, but also it is because it seems to work and she seems to want that. And so
Yeah.
the disconnection starts to become bigger and bigger. And where is the support for young couples with children, for these new relationship constellations? I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I'm sure you didn't. Like, you course corrected. Well done. Hoo-hoo. But like,
Yeah.
now being aware of all the things, I look back and I'm thinking, yeah, that happened. On top of, well, we had obviously had other issues as well.
Yeah.
But
And in real time, I'll share with you because I think he would appreciate it, but we
Mm,
are in sort of a struggle season right now. We are slightly disconnected. And the energetic frequency that's happening right now is that our son is entering a new level,
mm,
right? This 13-year-old who is emerging into this new human, this puberty stage, right? Where it kind of has started a little prior to that, but like it's really happening. And individually, as a dad, as a mom, separate from each other, our relationship with him is changing. And
yeah,
so
of
we
course.
have to, adjust, and he's coming to me differently and he's coming to his dad differently. And so as individuals, we're trying to figure out how the hell do we fit in this kid's life, and how does he fit into ours? And so we're shifting, and then as a couple, there's a whole nother element, right?
Hmm.
Where I'm watching him transform into a teenage, a dad of a teenager. And I'm seeing things that he can't see in himself. I have to be his blind side, right? And say, hey, you, you gotta let that one go. Or, hey, why am I standing outside doing something and I can hear you screaming? Like, what's up? Right?
Hmm.
Like, so there's a whole new element um, as a couple, as parents, trying to support each other in the evolution individually, which is tricky. It's very tricky. And so um, we're struggling right now a little with that. We are.
Yeah.
But we know the basics. We know how to communicate differently. Whereas a handful of years ago, this would be a huge blowout that would last for 2 weeks. And now
Yeah.
there's these mini sort of moments that we have tension, but we can come out of it quicker. We
Hmm.
can diffuse it. We have language and support now that we didn't have before. And again, that was through a lot of hard work intentionally. But I think for the mamas that might be feeling that right now, like they're in a stage of evolution within being a mom. And then how does that impact their relationship? How does that impact their work? How does that impact their social part of life, right? Because right now, I gotta tell you, my social life is my kids' friends' parents.
Oh,
Right?
and the online friends here.
Yes, yes, thank God for you. Right? So it's different right now. I have to be very intentional with where I put my time and energy, like this stuff, so I can
Mm,
feel fulfilled and heard and seen and loved and share that with other people. Um, because otherwise we get lost in that.
mm, mm. So true. And I just think, when we share things like this publicly, and thank you for being so open and honest, and vulnerable, I truly believe that this helps because it can be so lonely sometimes when we are in our heads doing our things, thinking that, oh, for the longest, I had this repetitive thought popping up, that, this is only happening to me, or this is, I'm special, but not in a good way. And so I'm like, and then you hear other people say the same thing, and you're like, suddenly, oh, okay. Whew, this isn't so uncommon. And so, yes, again, like when you listen to these stories, and especially to like situations, uh, motherhood, life in general, I feel like it's in general, we're growing and evolving constantly, and new seasons bring new challenges. And um, so what would you say is your best tip, other than like I can already take out open communication, intentional, like looking into things. What other advice or go-to tool do you have to go
Yeah.
through those?
So if I could leave you with anything, it's don't be afraid to reinvent yourself over
Mm,
and over and over again. This is something that when I look back, that's really been it. When I've been willing to say, who do I want to be now?
mhm,
That's that's you reinventing yourself, right?
mhm,
And it doesn't matter if other people see that or if they don't. What matters is you're doing the work to reinvent yourself from a space of not starting over, but from a space of starting with knowledge and and knowing and just reinvention, right? So
mm,
I, I think yeah, as a mom, especially in every season, I have to reinvent myself in that season. Who do I want to be to a teenage kid? Who do I want to be to my 9-year-old who thinks he's 13 like his brother, right? Like how do I speak to him in a different language, but yet he's so much more mature than my oldest was at 9 because he's got that older brother. So I forget that piece, that I have to be able to shift gears, and they are wildly different humans. One is very artsy and analytical and methodical, and the other is a full-on bro, like just, plays sports, a dude, and the other one's not. And so it's just they are very different humans, both brilliant, both wonderful. But how I parent them is different, you know.
mm.
So I have to reinvent myself at each season with them, and that's given me purpose to reinvent my business too.
Yeah, it never gets dull. It's like they are keeping
Girl,
us on our tippy toes. It's isn't it
always,
fantastic?
always. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So speaking about your business, what is happening? Where can the listeners, I don't know, this episode comes out probably somewhere in 2 months,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
September, October. So what
Yeah.
if you have an
So
evergreen.
what's going on in the business? So, as you spoke earlier, so my name is Erin Pittinaro. You can find me on most platforms as Erin Pittinaro. My business, is the Alchemy Experience, which you can also find me at. We have a free community, both on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. And my podcast is the Alchemy Experience. So you can find me all over the place by name or by that. And really, what my business is about is transforming, is reinventing yourself. The tagline is "She who creates herself,"
Mm,
and that's it, right? We're recreating ourselves as many times as we need to, and so my framework is walking women through the what I call the burnout to badass method, which is visualizing, setting intentions, which I walk women through road mapping, and then taking action. And so that's the framework. It sounds very simple, but it's not easy. But when you're a transformational coach with a clinical background, um, there's some power behind that. And so we are currently we've launched and have a retreat coming up in October. This may land after the retreat, but that's coming up. And so it's all about unboxing yourself and reinventing yourself. And so I'm
mhm,
so excited for those women that will be there.
mhm.
And yeah, so that's what we have going on right now. I support women individually through coaching. I still have my private practice that I support clinically, but I also run groups and networking events and summits and speak at those things. So we're busy. We're doing a lot
Yeah.
over here in the Alchemy Experience, but it's growing. And one thing I'm very proud of is if you are a social worker, I offer continuing education credits at all of those experiences. So those women that want to continue to fulfill those CEs for their licensure, I'm able to provide those, which is really
Oh,
beautiful.
wow. That is
Yeah.
amazing. That's awesome. Wow, that's sounds fantastic. Erin, you're doing such a great job. I mean, you're really I, bringing so much light into this world, and I hope a lot of listeners will connect with you and hear the story and get inspired, feel something is shifting, just by listening to someone like you. This is yes. Yes, yes, yes. More women like this needs the world. And don't forget to add to that list, to this impressive list of what's happening in your world, that there is also a retreat you're co-hosting in Bali, right? So this will probably be 2026, but let's put
Oh,
that
we're
on
gonna
the
make that happen. That is
list.
on my
Yes.
list of things. And oh, what a beautiful life we get to choose to live into and visualize that. Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
All right.
I love that. That is so, I just put that out. I just see it.
Yeah, let's manifest it with our words. Here we go. All right. Thank you so much. It was
Great.
a pleasure to have you here on the show. And dear listener, I wish you all the best and a wonderful day or night wherever you are. And I can't wait to share more exciting stories like this one on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Thanks, Erin. Bye.
Bye.